Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, thanks for watching this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. If you have not watched, if you have not subscribed to the show on the YouTube channel, please make sure you do. Besides watching it on YouTube, you can watch it on Gunstreamer, Full 30, and on the OpsLens app. And if you listen to the show, you can listen to it in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to support the show, you can get some Riding Shotgun and Gungram stickers at ridingshotgunwithcharlie.com on the store page. And I thank you guys for watching the show. I thank you guys for sharing it with other people. And I hope you guys enjoy the show, and I'm glad you guys are here. So thank you very much. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are in the city of brotherly love. Did they change I heard they changed it from the city of brotherly love to the city that loves you back.
That may be, but this is right now the carjacking capital of the U.S. So.
I know. Great. So if these films end up on someone else's YouTube channel, you'll know what happened. So today I've got with me Frank Tait. Frank Tait is an NRA training counselor. You're with the Appleseed, and you were trying to run for the board. You've been running for a long time.
Third year trying.
Third
tries the charm,
man.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
We're going to talk about you and all the cool stuff that you're up to. And we are starting here in Philadelphia at the Betsy Ross house. So we're going to put a couple of pictures there because, you know, I am the selfie dude, so we got a couple selfies at Betsy Ross's, and we're going to try to get a couple of other ones as we head through the city of brotherly love.
We have lots of fun stuff to see here.
If we, don't get shot or have someone steal our car. Which is interesting. With all the permits that I have, I've got the Mass license, a Utah license, and I think my New Hampshire permit expired. With all the permits I have, I cannot carry here in Philadelphia or in Pennsylvania because the Pennsylvania doesn't accept any of the permits I have. But you, on the other hand, you are good.
I'm good to go. It's Philly. I grew up here, so we're going to go left at 6th Street and
left at 6th Street. So I should probably get over one, right?
Yep, over one. But right. So we are actually right by the Liberty Bell Pavilion and Independence Hall.
Nice. All right, we might have to double park and get a picture there.
Not sure we're going to get away with that one.
Well, we can get that on video too.
Yeah.
So one of the good things is all the places I've been to, all the folks I've had on the show, I have never been pulled over, and nothing like that. So let's hope it stays that way.
Yep.
All right. So Frank, tell us about yourself. How did you get into firearms? How did you become a gun guy?
Grew up in Philly with a family that had no guns, and went out to cut a couple summers at my Uncle Tony's house. Now, my Uncle Tony was a veteran of the Spanish Civil War.
Wow.
He married my grandmother's sister, who was a nurse, and then moved to the U.S.
Very cool.
But he had a phenomenal collection of firearms, and he loved, with his 3 sons, he loved taking everybody out to the range.
Sure.
And we got to shoot. I got to shoot a blunderbuss. I got to shoot 44 mag. It was everything we could do.
That's cool.
But it was a great way to learn. And then when I turned 18, it was okay. Let's get a hunting license. Let's get let's buy some rifles and shotguns, and and then 21 was the handguns.
Very cool.
So, by the way, the Liberty Bell Pavilion is right there.
Liberty Bell is right there.
And if you look over the street sign, that is Independence Hall. So we're going to go up to the corner of the building here and hang a left.
Nice.
And that is Independence Hall.
Very cool. I spent 3 years living in Boston and in Massachusetts, and I always think it's cool to go to somewhere else and see all the historical stuff.
So this is it's up on the.
Oh, dig it!
Yeah, so that's Congress Hall and Independence Hall.
All right, we're gonna get a couple of pictures.
Yeah, and I don't believe we're able to stop on this street.
All right.
Yeah, so this is Chestnut Street, and we're not going to be able to jump out and do a selfie here.
Right, especially that gum.
Yeah.
This is cool.
Yeah. And so when I grew up, Liberty Bell was actually in the building.
Yeah.
And then it was a big deal to move it out into the pavilion.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, nice bumpy roads here.
Yeah. So then, got involved with competitive shooting. I was doing some work. I was a fraud investigator, and I had to carry a firearm as part of my job.
Oh, cool.
So, as part of getting trained, got turned on to PPC shooting.
So, PPC stands for?
Practical pistol. I wanted to go straight. Sorry.
All right, we're going to go straight.
Practical pistol. So I had a, fancy .38 revolver that was highly accurized and tuned. And it was a lot of fun. Just shot local matches, and then changed jobs. Had to move out of Philadelphia, and went through about a 17-year hiatus of not doing anything with firearms. Buddy of mine's father was ill, and he had to go to New Mexico to help him just keep going, deal with his father's gun collection. We got talking about guns, and he invited me to a range and turned me on to IDPA. So
That's cool.
Started shooting IDPA, USPSA. From there, got into I like to volunteer and help, so started. The guys I knew were. They ran the Pennsylvania state matches, so I went up and helped. So I started running the chrono, got certified as a safety officer, and then you pitch in and start helping. And then from there, got certified as a trainer. Got certified as an instructor and an RSO, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoy teaching, so I've been teaching continuously since 2006.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Teaching's a lot of fun. Like I've been a teacher for a long time, and I've been teaching. I became an instructor in 2007. It really is great to see the light bulb go off on people, and to say, oh yeah, this. I can't believe they want to take our rights. I had a gun class. Couple stories. I did a gun class. I think it was the beginning of 2020, and it was with some people in Massachusetts and Connecticut, and. This guy's got a small business, a successful small business and everything, and he's like, you want to stay straight? All right. He's like, what's the NRA doing about this? And this is going to happen. And they say that these people want to do this. Well, they're what's the NRA doing about this? And I said, they're waiting for the annual meeting for you to come down and to join and to take some action. And he's like, oh, okay. And what's really funny to me is at the beginning of the class. He started off with, you want to tell me I can't just go to a local gun store and buy a gun and go home and take it and start shooting and carrying? And I'm like, no, you can't do that. And then at the end of the class, he's like, you want to tell me all I need to do is go down to the town police and apply for a license and I can start to carry? I'm like, yeah, that's what you got to do. You gotta go through the process.
We're a little low. Now, the Admiral Dewey's flagship, the Olympia, is here.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought this one went through.
Oh, man.
That was the one that went and visited Japan, and the one that brought home the unknown soldier that's in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
So, but teaching is great because I've been involved in the education world my whole career, but from the software side. So providing software to the schools, well, to colleges and then to schools. And so I spent a lot of time with educators, and a lot of what helped me become a good instructor is having great mentors. So one of the things that I had as a benefit was Walt Rauch, who was one of the founders of IDPA, was a member of the club. And so I'd see Walt 4 to 6 times a month, and he was a gun writer, and so he would always have fun stuff to test and try. And so he's the one that got me started collecting, because I went to him when I was going to shoot IDPA. I said, hey, I only have this revolver. Should I used to own a 1911. Should I get a Glock or a 1911? And he looked at me and he said, you know you're going to get both.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, so.
What's the old line? Guns are like potato chips?
Yeah,
you
so
can't have
you
just
can't
one.
have just one. So that was, Walt's the one that got me started, and then my Uncle Tony, so they got me started on the collecting, and so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So how does this lead into, I was doing some research, and I think you started the Appleseed program?
No, I was one of the, I was part of the group that did the first Appleseed outside of North Carolina.
Gotcha.
With Fred, whose real name is actually Jack. But anyway, they started a training development program in 2009, and I went to that. We went up to New York, and which was fun because I had to stay in Pennsylvania because I was not allowed to have firearms overnight in New York. So I could have them at the range for the class, but then I had to go back to Pennsylvania to stay overnight. So I stayed legal. But so I learned the Appleseed instruction method, and I will say at that point the Appleseed rifle instructor program was superior to the NRA's.
Really?
Much more rigorous in terms of an apprentice program, building you into the skills to be successful as a rifle instructor, and in particular diagnostics.
Cool.
How do you see what a student is doing and help them fix it?
So tell us more about the Appleseed Project, because I think what I'm interested in, and I'm actually looking at taking one kind of soon. I haven't done it yet. Is the history behind.
So Appleseed, and then I also do Revere's Riders, is we teach the history of April 19th, 1775, and how marksmanship made a difference in founding our country. And we talk about the personal stories of people. So, and then when we do it in Pennsylvania, we Pennsylvaniaize it. So it's like we talk about the 1st Pennsylvania Rifle Regiment, because when it took 5 days for the news of Lexington and Concord to get to Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, and then they formed the 1st Pennsylvania Rifle Regiment that fought with Washington, that fought in the Battle of Bunker Hill all the way to the end of the war. And so we talk about the fact that the North Bridge, that the soldiers of the British Army, undisciplined fired, and then the first officer killed was Isaac Davis. So the statue of the famous Minuteman, the guy with the musket and the plow, that's Isaac Davis. He was the captain of the Acton Militia. And Major Buttrick then called to his men, fire as fast as you can. So in the British Army, they had 2 commands, present and fire. And with a flintlock, they would typically turn their head away and shoot high.
Right.
And the colonists had this thing called aiming. And you could tell the difference between officers and regular soldiers because the dye in the uniform of the regular soldiers would tend to fade. So if you hear soldiers called lobsterbacks, that's because the dyes faded. And then the officers had brighter dye, and they also wore what was called a gorget, which was a silver, basically their unit identification on their chest. And it was a very effective point to aim. And so why the British Army broke and ran at the North Bridge was because of accurate aimed fire, because it shot the officers and NCOs. So was it over 40% of the officers and NCOs were killed in the first volley, and they broke and ran.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff we talk about at Appleseed. And then one of the ways I personalize it is we talk. You're from the Massachusetts.
Yeah, occupied territory.
Yeah, we talk about the. We're in occupied territory here. This is Larry Krasner. I haven't found a felon I couldn't release with no bail. The DA. But anyway, in Boston, after the Tea Party, Parliament passed the Intolerable Acts. They call them the Coercive Acts. We call them the Intolerable Acts. But they sent General Gage, and the first thing he did is he banned the local assemblies. If you printed something he didn't like, he confiscated the printing press and what you printed.
Wow.
For public safety, he asked everyone to turn in their firearms, and they were never returned.
All of this sounds familiar.
He would, Parliament did not give him funds to build barracks, so he would walk up to your house, knock on the door, and say, "You have an hour, get out. We're going to quarter our troops here." They could walk into your house or place of business without a warrant, search it, and use what they found to prosecute you. They could put a gun to your head and interrogate you and use what was said under duress to prosecute you. And so what I just covered there, first 5 amendments of the Constitution. And so that's why those amendments were so important, because the American colonists lived under that type of oppression before the Revolution. Wow. So that's the fun stuff we talk about. And I taught a combined Revere's Riders Women on Target class on Sunday. We had 9 women there, and they loved the stories. And so we didn't do the full, I did the full history, but it was for rifle shooting, and the women had a great time. Their bench rest shooting was phenomenal, and I think was it 7 of the women had never handled a firearm before, and 2 had never shot a rifle.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah, so we're just going to go around.
Swing around.
This is City Hall.
All right.
So there's the famous statue of William Penn standing on top, and depending on which angle you look at, he's looking in the future or taking a leak. That's the fun stuff in Philly.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah. So you want to, basically we're just going to go around the block here.
Okay.
But the City Hall has the courthouse, and then the other courthouse is right here too. So.
All right, everybody's going to take a left here, right?
Yeah, everybody takes a left here.
Okay.
So you're just gonna basically
follow everybody.
This is the big building in the center of town.
Nice.
So, as my grandfather tells me, this was part of the family farm eons ago.
Wow.
Yeah. That's again, we're gonna stay left.
All right, let's get left.
Yeah. We'll just zip around Old Town.
I love it.
But the Appleseed was a phenomenal. Walt Rauch helped develop me, and then the Appleseed instructors helped develop me, and then that's one of the things that I wanted to do was to try and bring the NRA credentialing to Appleseed, because there is a restriction and you couldn't teach an Appleseed program on a range unless you were an RSO or you had NRA credentials. Or they wanted NRA insurance,
right.
And so I became a training counselor to help get the Appleseed instructors NRA credentials to be able to expand the program.
That's really interesting. That is really interesting.
And so, my top year, I think I was a couple of years running, it was about 650 people a year teaching.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was tied up my weekends. Weekends and evenings.
Nice. That's a lot of fun.
And then what's in front of us here is the Wanamaker store, which is the country's first department store.
Oh, cool.
And so now it used to be 12. Well, the store was on 9 floors and 1 subfloor. So there's 2 sub-basements and 12 stories in the building. So nice. And they filmed the movie Blowout here. And it was a John Travolta, Nancy Allen movie. And as we go around to the right, where John Travolta drives through the window of the store, that's the window on the corner.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was working security that day.
Nice.
I'm in the movie for a frame.
That's cool. That is way cool. What was I just thinking? Appleseed. Oh, so all of the training that you have, you became an NRA training counselor.
Yeah.
And how many disciplines do you teach?
All but personal protection outside the home and reloading.
Wow. Gotcha. So I saw some pictures of you shooting muzzleloaders and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I do at the Appleseed and Revere's Riders. Is if the weather's good, I'll bring muzzleloaders out, and the kids love shooting. I have a replica of an Elliott pistol, 1760 Elliott pistol, 62 caliber pistol, and I have the kids shoot it.
So, oh, that's cool.
And the interesting thing about the Elliott pistol, there are no sights on the pistol.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
But it's fun teaching it, and so I've been focused pretty much just developing instructors. So one of the things that I've been doing, started in 2019, is we need to build credible messenger instructors in all the communities that are now aggressively going out and buying guns. So we need to develop women instructors, we need to develop minority instructors.
Yeah.
And so I've been working with a couple of pastors down in the Baltimore, D.C. area. We've developed about 55 instructors over the past 2.5 years.
That's incredible.
And so these are people, because in Maryland you have to take a class in order to even buy a gun. Same thing in D.C.
Yeah.
And so these are people that work every week going through and making their community safer. And so we just taught an NRA CCW class for those guys a couple of weeks back.
That's great.
But to me, it's important. We've got to get, and that's one of the areas that got me started with the NRA, is that we're not doing enough outreach to develop instructors to help the people that are buying firearms, because you want them to be safe.
Right. And it sounds like a good number of people are interested in becoming, not just getting education and learning how to use a gun and when you can use a gun and all the self-defense and everything, but people want to become instructors to pass this on.
So as an example, tomorrow afternoon I'm working with the National African American Gun Association, where I want to do the same thing in Pennsylvania, because I tried to get a development program going here in the Pennsylvania, and the local politicians refuse to allow any venue to teach the classroom portions. So, going in here because the state the governor is anti-gun, the mayor is anti-gun, the DA is anti-gun, the state reps are anti-gun, the state senators are anti-gun, the U.S. reps are anti-gun. So, any place that asks, well, you have to ask the Philly police for their permission to do this, and the Philly police never returned the call.
Wow.
So we went down to Baltimore.
Nuts. I will say this: I interviewed Shanine Allen a few years ago, and if I remember correctly, she said she got her Pennsylvania permit. She was robbed. I can't remember if it was 2 times in 3 months or 3 times in 2 months, but she was robbed a couple times in a short amount of time and decided to get a permit. And she said the Philly police were not necessarily cooperative.
Correct.
Is probably a good way to put it. They didn't think she should get a gun. They kind of discouraged her from doing it. She said she wanted to get a gun to protect herself. And then she didn't know that and I get that it's got to be on. I get it. The student has to have some responsibility for learning about stuff. But when somebody that's looking for information and education goes to you would assume to the police officers, and the police don't give them any information, and then of course she ended up getting arrested for possessing a firearm in New Jersey, another fine state, and ended up going to jail for 48 days.
No, that's the Gun Owners of America, and actually one of my lawyers, Josh Prince, aggressively fight the Philly, and they've when COVID first hit, you had to schedule an appointment to be interviewed for your permit. It's not a permit here; it's a license to carry. And that they were over 15 months out into the future to get an interview.
Wow.
Whereas in some of the counties here, you walk in, and the background check they do to get your license to buy a firearm, to carry a firearm, is the same as a 4473.
So it should be done in about 4 minutes.
Right. So there are counties that you walk in, and 15 minutes later you walk out with your license. By law, they have 45 days. Like the county I live in, I'm a Delaware County. It's typically about 10 days. You turn your paperwork in, you get a letter, hey, come pick up your license. But Philadelphia took the 45 days and said, well, since it doesn't say, we're going to count it. We're going to make it right on 2nd Street. Right. We're going to count it as 45 business days.
Oh my God.
It's pretty aggravating.
Yeah,
but that's the kind of anti-gun stuff you have here in Philly.
And of course, as Martin Luther King said, a right delayed.
Yes, right denied.
Yeah, absolutely.
So part of that is when as I've been doing more instructing work and working with trying to going to the town halls of the state senators and the U.S. reps and going out to Harrisburg and lobbying for gun rights and against anti-gun bills, came across a number of different NRA things. And one of my friends actually used to work at a gun store and built my first AR pistol was Adam Kraut.
From FPC.
From FPC.
He's with FPC now. Yeah.
So Adam tried running for the NRA board 3 times, and then he finally was going to get a seat for to replace someone who had resigned from the board, and that was when he started to work for FPC, and he had a choice: maybe either sit on the NRA board or work for FPC. So
right.
You're a young guy just getting married. I don't remember if you just got married or not, but it was young guy, career. Okay, let's go do this. And so at the 2019 NRA meeting, I was there talking to Adam about the petition calling for, transparency and what was going on, and for the people that weren't doing the right thing to step aside. And so I put my name on it. And so that's how I got started. And then when Adam decided that he would prefer to work for FPC, I said, okay, well, if I'm getting close to retiring, so I'll pick up the mantle and run.
That's
so
cool.
I've been doing that for the past 3 years. And so part of the reason I'm doing it is, I was a senior executive in companies for most of my career, a 40-year career in information technology. But I've been serving on boards for over 25 years. So I understand what a board is doing its job, and when a board is there as there for show, and that the executive director is running the show, not the board. Right. The board's not exercising its proper governance, and so that's the thing that infuriates me, and that a number of directors tried to fix things, and they were cut out of their committees and ostracized, and so they resigned in disgust. Other directors like Dwayne Liptak resigned after the bankruptcy filing that by law should have been, you can make it right on the moment, by law should have been approved by the board before it was filed, and then wasted tens of millions of dollars of members' money. So that was actually the first bank of the U.S.
Oh, cool.
On the right there.
That's cool.
So this is the old part of the city. This is historic Philly.
Now, I don't want to change topics because I want to get to the NRA stuff, but I remember coming down to Philly one time on a trip, and we were visiting Ben Franklin's area, where Ben Franklin lived.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember where the cemetery is.
I thought it was kind of interesting because I do remember them saying that he set a mirror outside of the window of the second floor that looked down at the entrance, looked down to the front door, so he could see if his mother-in-law was coming.
Yeah, because Christ Church, it's where he's buried, is a couple blocks that way. But Philly has these little squares in town and areas. So we'll just take this out across Broad, and they have all the signs for what was started here, like Tun Tavern was here, where the Marine Corps had their birth.
Is that where they started eating crayons?
No, they were eating oysters back then. Still eating oysters. These nice little squares.
Oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
This is great.
So every so often you'll have a little square like this.
Nice.
So it's a little bit of greenery down here.
That's cool. All right, so back to the NRA stuff. You were talking about why you want to get involved and have the transparency, and the executive officer's not running the show, and the board's not doing what they're supposed to do as a board.
Yeah. Well, I can go on for this for hours because I've got a blog that I've been writing. It's on Substack. It's taitnra.substack.com. And then as I write things, they're all out there. But for me, number one, the board is too big. It's 76 people, and having been to I think 6 board meetings, it runs like a legislature, not a board. It is tightly scripted, and my comment is boards are supposed to be strategic, and they spend all their time doing tactical stuff. So they're not effectively doing their job.
Gotcha.
So 76 people is too big for a board. Second is that they're to get onto the board, you basically need to be to get through the nominating committee. You have to be proposed by an existing board member, and it's almost a loyalty test that if you're going to come on the board, you have to agree to let things be as they are. So the only way to get a reformer on the ballot is to run by petition of the members.
Right.
And so I got on the ballot 2020 by petition. 2021 was very tight because of COVID. You had a hard time getting to enough people to get signatures.
Right.
So I ran as a write-in. So 2020 I ran and I came in dead ass last. 2021 I ran as a write-in and didn't even get close.
Right, but they in 2021, that's when they threw out a bunch of your ballots, right?
My understanding of what may have happened, again, this is speculation, is that when COVID hit and everything shut down, all of the people who submitted their renewals, that renewal information sat until the NRA came back in. And so people's length of, you have to be a member for 5 continuous years in order to be considered a voting member.
Right.
And they disqualified like 200 of my signatures for people not being 5 continuous years of membership. Well, if you're an annual member and your member stuff sat for 3 or 4 months,
right, there's a real good chance
there's
it didn't
a
get
real
renewed.
good chance that happened, and then they don't, you wouldn't know. The only way you would know is you'd call up and say, hey, where's my ballot to vote for the board?
Right.
And they'd say, oh, well, you broke your service. Well, I renewed in time, and so unless you called and complained, they didn't fix it.
They cashed the check, and they just didn't process the paperwork.
If they sent by check, the checks just sat there.
Oh my gosh.
So, because nobody was going into the office. But anyway, so this year, well, normally you have 6 months to get signatures. We had, I think, 2 months in 2021, but there were no gun shows or any places you could really go to get signatures. And then 2022, this year, we only had 6 weeks to get signatures.
Oh my gosh.
But fortunately, the gun shows were back, so I was able to go to a couple of gun shows, and some other people were helping me around the country going to gun shows, and I was able to far exceed the minimum number of signatures. So right now I'm running as the only candidate on the ballot by petition of members. And the ballots started coming out this week. So it's on Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and Getter and MeWe, and I'm on the social media platforms with that. And then other people have been helping me reach out to gun clubs, not just in the area but all over the country. The gun clubs that are 100% NRA members, reaching out to them to ask them to share my information about my candidacy.
Gotcha.
But it's doing the job of transparency and accountability. Part of it is boards really have 3 responsibilities: strategy, and to me the big challenge with the NRA is not being offensive to go after our rights. So everything, it's lawyer first and lawyer second. So it's all, and I think Jason May and his group do a phenomenal job with the ILA and working with legislatures and having relationships and working to keep the bad stuff off. But the NRA can only do so much, and a lot of these bad things are happening at the state level and the local level, and I think there needs to be better collaboration with state level organizations, because the NRA is very much a not invented here syndrome. So unless it comes from the NRA, they just don't do it. So like in Pennsylvania here, we have Firearms Owners Against Crime. I know you have GOAL in Massachusetts, and that Kim Stolfer, who's the head of Firearms Owners Against Crime, has worked. He worked to get the Castle Doctrine in Pennsylvania. He's worked to strengthen preemption, where we've actually had laws passed. The governor just vetoed it again. That says if you are going to violate preemption, then you can be subject to financial penalties for the costs of overturning your law. So basically trying to tell the localities that don't waste your time doing things that are against the state preemption law, because you're not going to...
it's going to cost you a lot.
It's going to cost you, so stop doing it. Because we spend, it's the death of 1,000 cuts. Bloomberg drops his millions on the moms and the Everytown groups, and they convince politicians you can do this, and we need to fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
By the way, this is typical Philly traffic.
This
this will drive.
They look like Massachusetts drivers too.
Yeah.
So. And the roads are really small here.
Yeah. This is a colonial era town. It's like driving down by Paul Revere's house and whatchamacallit, Faneuil Hall.
Faneuil Hall, yeah. Yeah, the roads are really tight down there. Doesn't stop people from, parking and double parking.
Double park, triple park.
Triple parking, half in one lane, half in the other.
Yeah. What we're going to do is we're going to swing up and we're going to go. You can't come to Philly without looking at the art museum where Rocky ran up the steps.
Nice. I actually interviewed Carrie Sloan here a few years ago, and I got video of both of us running up the steps, and she may have broken a heel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So again, strategy. The second one is talent. And to me, you have so many people that have been in place for so long. What's the succession planning? What are we doing to develop talent? Because Wayne's in his 70s. Jason's doing a great job, but you need, as a board, you need a succession plan several layers down in the organization. It's like the last time there was a change. Joe DeBurgalis came in to run operations, but Joe came off the board to do that. So again, you need to be developing the talent. Again, multiple layers in the organization. And then third is risk management. And to me, this is an area where, I think that the NRA did not properly manage its risk. I think the audit committee, the one thing that I'm an accountant by education, and when we first started talking about my background, I said I was a fraud investigator. I was a forensic accountant trying to identify fraud, and so I understand. I've been on audit committees before. I've done auditing, and so looking at the way that the audit committee. The chair of the audit committee left the room when the whistleblowers brought their report forward. The minutes of the meeting reflected that the external auditors were in the meeting, but they were not. And so that kind of stuff is just wrong. And to me, that's where the transparency needs to be. That the organization, in terms of the inappropriate payments to people, the conflicts of interest that exist between the board in terms of remuneration, the excess employee benefits and the tax implications of excess employee benefits for executives who are traveling. There's a lot of things that if the board wants to pay to do it, great. Let's be above board and do it right. But don't hide it and then try and cover it up. And to me, that's why things have to change. And then the other part is things like the bankruptcy. No, the executive director cannot just declare bankruptcy and then tell the press that yes, we're solvent, but we're trying to get out of this New York AG case. I was the president of a company that was a division of a larger company, and we had an issue with the government where things weren't done correctly. And the way that you deal with it is like, okay, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's come clean. Let's get all the issues on the table, and then let's fix it. And so we were under a consent decree, and part of that is I had to sign off every invoice, every timesheet, everything that we were doing, and I was subject to criminal sanctions if it was inaccurate.
Wow.
But it's like, okay, that's the way that you fix this is you come clean and get right.
Yeah, you gotta take it serious.
And that you don't hide. And I think part of it is is there a political motivation to the prosecution? Yes. But you still have to get it right. And if you, I think it's up to over $100 million of members' money has gone to pay the Brewer Law Firm and their affiliates to defend this case. And I think it could have been settled long ago. Like even something as simple as the Chris Cox severance settlement, which is a $2 million dispute. They've spent, I think, $8 million in legal fees. on a $2 million dispute. So where is the board doing risk-benefit analysis that says why are we spending $8 million where if we had just paid the guy $2 million, we would still have $6 million? Right. This doesn't make sense. And so where's the board oversight and things like that?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I've certainly talked to a lot of people and heard from people, and a lot of people are really frustrated with where the NRA's at, and people don't want to spend any more money and give them anything else until either Wayne's gone or until this is all straightened out.
Well, I mean, when I go to do my petitions, I would say 3 to 1. As I ask someone to sign my petition, I used to be a member, or not until Wayne's gone, or as soon as I say I'm working to reform, and to me part of reform is Wayne needs to go, let me sign. The other one is the number of there are a couple of reporters in the gun industry that are looking into the membership. I know Steve Gutowski has done a couple of things about the decline in NRA membership. But one of the reasons for the decline is that it used to be if you were a Gold Star gun club, you had 100% NRA members. That there are gun clubs that are dropping that requirement. So they want you now just be a member of a pro-gun organization. Right. So be an FPC, be GOA, be Second Amendment Foundation. Right. Be a member of one of them, but not necessarily the NRA.
I know that one of the club that I belonged to the longest, when I first joined, there were 2 requirements. You had to be a member of the Gun Owners Action League, and you had to be a member of the NRA. And I'm going to say a number of years ago they dropped the NRA membership. And you just have to be a member of the state's pro-gun group. I don't like I think there's a lot of people that just want to. It seems like they want to swipe everything and get rid of they want to get rid of all 76 members of the board and start over. But like you were talking about, you have to have some sort of a succession plan. And I don't. When people say they want to get rid of the NRA, I'm like, oh, it's the biggest pro-gun group that we have, and honestly, it's the one that most non-gun folks know about.
Well, when we go to Harrisburg and we lobby the representatives and the senators, the only question on their mind is where is the NRA on this? Right. So, by the way, let's make a right at the next light. Okay.
The in my own life, I've had one of my college roommates. When I started to show the gungram videos and the riding shotgun stuff, he's like, dude, I love what you're doing with the NRA. And I'm like, I'm not really doing anything with the NRA, man. Like, there's other pro-gun groups that are out there, and I'm doing my stuff on my own.
Well, it's like I'm a life member of GOA, Second Amendment Foundation. My financial support right now is going to FPC. I'm still supporting the NRA because I'm buying materials to teach classes, and I'm actively developing new instructors who buy materials to teach classes.
Right. So it's not like you're against the NRA. You just want to fix things. It's I don't know. Some people relate it to a marriage, and you got to you got to save the marriage because this is what's going to happen. But you got to fix it.
Well, to me, there are things that the NRA does that are phenomenal. Education and training, phenomenal. The competitions program, the hunting education programs, the Whittington Center. I get to go back. I go back to the Whittington Center again in April. I've been there a few times. I love the Whittington Center. The Friends of NRA program and the grants, because I'm a member of several gun clubs, and we've gotten NRA grants like pretty much every year for the past 10-12 years, because we've developed a junior rifle and junior trap program, where the one of my students, and actually one of my instructors, he's an assistant instructor now. He was a 4-time Pennsylvania high power junior champion.
That's incredible.
So it's, again, the programs work. He was also an Appleseed. He got started as an Appleseed student.
Wow, that's amazing.
But now we've got a trap program with about 40 kids in it, where we're developing athletes to do that. And the NRA, through the NRA Foundation, like the gun club will buy a table at the event, and we get a gun and we raffle off the gun to raise money for the kids. And then we get grants from the NRA to fund the things that we need. Like right now, I'm waiting to buy ammo. I'm waiting for federal to let me know. But we're getting a pallet. We need a pallet of shells to support the kids. So we're gonna spend $12,000 on ammo just for shotgun shells.
Wow.
But that's how busy it is. There's another one of the squares, Rittenhouse Square.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, this traffic is moving so slow. Oh, that was where we needed a turn.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
It's all right. 2 more streets.
Let the good times roll.
That's all right. We're just stuck behind the bus.
I know. We're behind the bus and all the other cars. So I'm like, let's just get away from them. And you're like, yeah, that was where we wanted to go.
That's all right. We'll get there. This is normal Philly traffic.
Philly traffic. This is nuts.
Yeah. So this is why people want to take public transportation down here.
Right. There's a little part of me, completely changing topics, and I don't want to do that, but there's completely part of me that believes in the, oh my God, I think it was called Agenda 21, where the government is trying to, they're trying to make traveling much more difficult, so people will end up taking public transportation everywhere.
Yes.
And make it difficult to own a car.
The freedom of movement. You can go where the government says you're allowed to go.
Right.
So I mean, look at what right now, like with the trucker protest in Canada and the one that's coming here in the U.S. You hear talk of kill switches in cars.
Right.
So. And then you look at what happened with the banking system in Canada, where they
shut down access to people's money.
And by the way, without warrant, without due process, no ability to appeal it. And fortunately, that was rescinded last night. But I think people have said, the more things are in control of just one place. We can make it right here.
All right.
The more they're just in one place. The more control the government has on it because they can pinch it off. It's like the Operation Choke Point on the financial services, trying to have the credit card companies stop doing business with firearm retailers. And that's to me that's a huge red flag for in terms of your gun rights go beyond just the firearm issues because you have freedom of speech issues. And you have the economic freedom, because to me your ability to spend money is part of your freedom of speech.
Absolutely. I thought this was interesting, and I did hear this at the beginning of all of the lockdowns and everything. But I remember hearing or reading someplace that in order to open up a credit union, all you need is $25,000. And I'm like, man, if I had 25 grand, I could start the pro-gun credit union and have my own credit cards and all that sort of stuff.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about that part because I know when my wife and I bought our house, we got our mortgage from a local credit union because we knew that the mortgage was going to be held by the local credit union. They weren't going to sell it to somebody to sell it to somebody to sell it to somebody because they want to keep the money in the community.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
yeah, that is important. Like I guess the first time I bought a house, again, like you said, you get the loan, the mortgage from one place, and then they sell it and send it to someone else. You're like, wait, I thought I was paying you guys.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's one of the things like the NRA does well is with the Friends of NRA and the NRA Foundation raising money that way, because the original model was half of the money that was raised in that county stayed in that county, and that's one of the things that, depending on who you talk to, that rule has changed because when you look at the NRA financial reports, these are rough numbers, but in 2018 or 2019, the charge from the NRA to the foundation for all the administrative processing, it was like all the employee salaries and benefits, was $12 million. Well, the next year it was up to $18 million with fewer people. So the NRA is pulling money out of the foundation where money should be going the other way. It should be going into the foundation.
Right.
And so that's actually one of the roots of the lawsuit in D.C. is that the NRA has been taking money out of the foundation inappropriately. So I don't know if that's the Franklin Institute.
Oh, cool.
That's where Ben Frank, the Science Museum, and it's a great place for kids.
Yeah, they got a Harry Potter exhibit, right?
Yeah. Well, they actually have a locomotive in there, and they have a plane, and they used to have they probably still have it, a Mercury capsule.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's pretty wild.
Well, as a young kid, you got to do a lot of school field trips down here.
Yeah, that is cool.
So where those guys are going left, that's the route up to the art museum.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, listen, Frank, this has been great. A lot of educational stuff here. Learning about how how things need to be done and how they're not being done. How can people find you? How can they support you? How can they vote for you and get you in on the NRA board?
Okay. So finding me, I'm on all the social media. Frank Tait. My blog is Tait NRA, TAIT NRA. .substack.com, so you can subscribe there. It's free. Get all my stuff.
Cool.
And then the best way to support me in the NRA board is if you are an NRA voting member, to vote only for me. 25 directors get elected. If you vote for 25, I make no progress. Okay. That's how I think why I came in dead ass last in 2020, because people voted for me and somebody else. So the best way to move me up in the rankings, because I have to get at least in the top 25 to get a 3-year seat on the board. And the best way to do that is to vote only for me.
Okay. And we call that bullet voting?
Bullet voting.
And write you in, Frank?
No, not write me in. I'm on the front of the ballot. On the front of the ballot.
Okay, cool. Cool. Frank C Tait, Wayne, Pennsylvania.
Wayne, Pennsylvania.
All right.
Stay left. We're
going to stay left, and we're going to hit the...
There's no way we're going to be able to stop up there. There is no double parking here.
Oh, those bastards.
Yeah.
Those bastards. All right, the Rocky statue is right there.
Oh, it's right there, yeah.
Right in front of the, what's the Philadelphia Art Museum?
The Philadelphia Art Museum. Yeah. Very cool.
All right, let's wrap things up. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I want to give you the Riding Shotgun with Charlie stickers and patches. I'm sure you get some gun cases. Those would fit on.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching the show. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe to Riding Shotgun with Charlie on YouTube. Support the Second Amendment Foundation, SAF.org, and their sister group, the Citizens' Right to Keep and Bear Arms, CCRBKA, and I can't remember if it's a .org or a .com, but you can check them out in the links below. You should check out all of your pro-freedom podcasts on the SDRN.US, which is the Self-Defense Radio Network. And we thank you guys for watching the show. We're gonna be here in Philly for a few more minutes. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Charlie.